This is the Y'all Show, talk with a Southern accent with your host, John Rawl. It's time now for Takapola storytelling time. And we bring on our friend Jerry Short, of course, each week for Takapola storytelling time. And we start out this week, Jerry, going back to, let's say, back in the good old days.
Good old days. 50s. Going that far back?
Yeah, going back to the 50s because we lost over the weekend Little Richard, the Macon, Georgia native, passing away after a life well lived, a life of rock and roll and more. But first up,
And
welcome,
Tutti Frutti and all that good stuff.
welcome back into the Y'all Show, Jerry.
Well, it's good to be here. Hate to come in on sad news but he had to be getting kind of up in age. I know he's older than Elvis. I'd say, what, 83, 4, 5 or something?
He was up there for sure. And we're going to talk about Little Richard. We're also going to talk about Jerry. Somebody brought it up to me on social media, at least, that with the passage of Jerry, with the passage of Little Richard, we only
Scared
have,
me.
yeah, we only have one rock and roll icon left.
Oh, gosh, if I had to guess, is James Brown still around?
No, he's been gone for 20
He's
years.
been gone. Oh, you count the Beatles?
No,
You got Ringo
those
Starr.
guys aren't the original rock and
No.
rollers. I'm talking about.
Bill Haley's dead, surely.
I don't even know who that is.
He was the first one. Rock Around the Clock
Oh, okay.
with Bill Haley. He was from England.
Did he die like?
He was ahead of Elvis a little bit.
Did he die in a crash or something?
No, I don't think so. No, he didn't. Now, it's Ricky Nelson did, who was hot on the charts for a long time.
Buddy Holly.
Buddy Holly and all those guys seemed to get airplanes, but airplane bad situations. Let's see. Oh, gosh, I should be able to know that if it was in one. It's from the 50s. All of them that live in our part of the country are gone, I think, now. And let's see, B.B. King, that's not rock and roll. He left last year.
No, he's been gone about 5 years now.
Boy, don't time get away from you. That means I'm older than I thought
I
I
know he's
was.
been gone about 5 years because I was living
Wait
in
a
downtown
minute now. I was
Memphis
trying to stay 69.
when they renamed Third Avenue to
Third
BB
Avenue
King,
to B.B. King.
which
now.
oddly enough, Third Avenue is where Elvis lived on as a boy. The corner of
Well,
Third
he goes
Avenue.
in and runs into Alabama where,
Right,
yeah.
but it's at the corner of
It's
Third
at the corner
and
of
Alabama is
Third
where
and
Elvis
Alabama's right.
grew up.
That's where he grew up in those apartments over there that were low-income apartments. And my uncle used to come by there and see Elvis sitting out there playing his guitar. He'd tell me about it. You know, as a main drag then when you'd come through Memphis. But I may have to dang holler calf rope here. Give me a clue.
Well, Jerry, you must be deaf because I essentially just about gave the answer away when I was talking a minute ago. The last rock and roll icon is Jerry Lee Lewis.
Well, I'll be a son
And
of a
not
gun.
only is he alive, good Lord, he's in your wheelhouse. He lives in North Mississippi.
Well, I go by his house all the time.
In
I
Nesbit?
Yeah. And, you know, it's on Interstate 55. You just take a right, and he's right up the hill on the right. But
Have you ever seen him?
have I seen him? I've met him and talked to him.
I mean, have you seen him there on his property?
Oh, no. At one time, he moved over to Booneville for a little while. And he had one of his later children going to high school there, who they chauffeured in every day, they tell me. And but did I tell you the story about him being fired?
No.
This is how I knew him. My accountant in Memphis, who was a real good accountant, and heard him advertising on WHBQ as the reason that I went to him. And he did all the pro basketball players and did all that kind of stuff. Well, I was there one day. This has been in the 90s, and I was being audited, and I was at Gary's office. And anyway, he said, coming in today is Jerry Lee Lewis. You want to meet him? And I said, yeah. So he comes in with this deal, like the hair I had before,
Oh, look at that.
swinging that hair like that, you know. And he comes in and shake hands, and he's all friendly and nice. So I'm back up there about 2 weeks later, and the secretary tells me, hey, well, hold up just a minute before you go in. It's going to be a while. He's tied up with Jerry Lee Lewis. So I finally, Jerry Lee Lewis come out, and he didn't speak to me. You know, I thought he was going to speak and be nice because we'd talked about 5 minutes that other time. And he went straight by me and out the door and slammed the door. And I went in and asked my accountant, I said, what the heck's wrong with Jerry Lee Lewis? And he said, I just fired him. I said, you, an accountant, have fired Jerry Lee Lewis? What's the situation? And he said, well, you know, the IRS has got him for everything. And all he's got to do is do a couple of shows, and he's booked in England, and he's booked in France, and he's booked in places to do some shows. We can pay him out and get him out of it. And I was telling him that, and he said, I got plenty of money. I don't need to be booking shows right now. So what he did, Jerry Lee Lewis pulled his checkbook out, and he opened it up, and he flipped it back and forth, and he said, you see all the checks in here? And the accountant said, I'm looking at your bank statements, and you write one of those checks, you're probably going to jail for it. So he said, I'm not putting up with your stuff anymore. He said, you're fired. So he fired Jerry Lee Lewis, his accountant did, and his house came up for sale. Well, my accountant told me, so why don't you buy it? They was going to bid it. The government was bidding it off. Mm-hmm. And then I looked at it. It was a kind of a ranch-style house up on the hill down at Nesbitt, just out of Memphis, in the Mississippi. And so I looked at it, and I thought, I think I might bid on it. But then as you dug deeper, he'd give Jerry Lee Lewis a life estate. Well, we were talking about it, and we said, and this is even in the 90s, Jerry Lee can't live that much longer. I mean, it's no way the lifestyle he lives, it's no way. You buy it, and then he gets a life estate, and then you can use it as a tourism house like Graceland or something. And anyway, I just said, no, the heck with it. The doggone thing sold for $30-something thousand. But Jerry Lee Lewis has had a life estate, and that's the reason nobody would buy it, I guess. I guess they knew he was going to live. That's not gone since the 90s. Let's see, he's lived 20 years plus, maybe. Mm-hmm. Since then, since he got a life estate. Isn't that amazing? But he's the one.
But when he dies, that place will immediately be sold?
That place immediately. No, it's already been sold.
Okay.
The person bought it at the bid, but in the contract, Jerry Lee Lewis gets a life estate, meaning he gets to use it and live in it till he dies. So, but when he dies, it goes to the person that bid was the high bidder. And that high bid was only $35,000. And I kicked myself many a time for not going up there and trying to go $37,000 or something. But who would have ever dreamed a man would have lived another 20 years? Because he drank, he was crazy, well, I won't say crazy, Jerry Lee, but I don't want you coming after me. But anyway, he's the last one. That's something in it.
Well, Jerry Short is our Takapola storyteller. We have actually a statement from Jerry Lee Lewis about the passage of Little Richard. It is with a heavy heart that I ask for prayers for the family of my lifelong friend and fellow rocker, Little Richard. He will always live on in my heart, and with his amazing talent and his friendship. He was one of a kind, and I will miss him dearly. God bless his family and friends. Rest in peace, my friend. Love eternally, Jerry Lee Lewis.
Now, someone wrote that for him.
Oh, come on now.
What? I don't believe he...
You don't think the killer is a good wordsmith?
I don't think. I've been on his street. He's from Faraday, Louisiana, discovered in Natchez, Mississippi, across the river. And his you know who his cousins are, don't you?
Mickey Gilley and Jimmy Swagger.
There you got it, son. And they got all three streets named after them in Faraday. Last time I was on them in Faraday, Louisiana, all three of them were gravel. And so they were just little gravel streets going up to going out towards the river, and then you turned and you went back into Faraday and across the river in Natchez. But anyway, he had some good relatives, I guess. They're all kicking and rocking. I guess Mickey Gilley's still going, right?
Oh, he's going.
Okay.
I don't know how much he's going, but he's definitely
how
going.
Jimmy Swagger came back, now I'll never know. But if you notice, he's got a pretty good voice, too. He'll sing those religion songs and make them cry. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting.
Well, Jerry Short is again with us, our Takapola storyteller. And Jerry Lee Lewis, just like you, has had to put up with a lot here the last 6 weeks with the quarantine.
Oh, man, don't you know he's rocking and rolling?
And we just heard his statement about the passage of Little Richard, but I guess out of boredom or just the idea of reaching out to his fan base, the other day, Jerry Lee put out something on social media, and we're going to play it for you. It's Jerry Lee, his seventh wife, and one of their canine Americans having fun on the front porch. And
Not a cousin.
not a cousin, I don't
Okay.
think.
Okay.
Here's a little bit of that from social media. Jerry Lee Lewis. He's actually proven, Jerry Short, that he's still with us. And yeah, you can just sit here and kick yourself even more that $37,000.
Oh, he's got a club on BB King and Third.
Yeah.
You know.
He's still going strong. In fact, this is how he's been getting through the pandemic here lately. Here's Jerry Lee, the killer.
We're coming from to y'all live from Shangri-La. Ladies and gentlemen, the killer and his baby girl, little Judith. Say hey, little Judith.
Hello,
Hey, little
baby.
Judith. Little Jerry Lee is pouting, so he'll be out shortly. We just wanted to say hello again.
Who are we talking to?
Facebook friends.
Facebook fans?
Yeah.
Oh, hello, Facebook fans.
Yeah.
This is Jerry Lee Lewis. I'm out here playing with my dogs. And got little Judith down here rubbing on her.
There she is.
She's
She's
my
in
baby.
heaven. Yeah.
Uh-huh. And we're watching the virus go by. And
And we're hoping the virus goes way on by.
yeah, I bet it goes up into the clouds.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to bother us anyway. What you mean for that? And it don't bother us anyway.
But anyway, y'all take care of yourself, and we love you, and we'll be talking to y'all as soon as we get a chance. We're just kind of taking it easy, and
Well, you have to take a chance now.
yeah, all we do is cook, eat, and cook, and watch TV, and play games, and
She takes a chance just living with me.
yes, I do. I love you.
I know you do.
Mwah. Okie dokie.
For me to get a kiss like that, I have to call back Facebook fans.
Y'all heard that. Talk to y'all later. We love you.
I love you.
Okay.
I need you. I
Yeah.
couldn't make it without you.
Bye. Bye.
All right, there's some fun courtesy of the killer, Jerry Lee Lewis, here on the Y'all Show, right there on his front porch in Nesbit, Mississippi, and his seventh wife there, as well as his latest addition to the family, a dog. It sounds like they got quite a few dogs there at, I think, what he calls Shangri-La. Did you know that
yeah.
place had a nickname?
Yeah, I thought it was Shangri-La, but he's probably had to change it over the
Yeah.
years. You know, at the time he run through Elvis's gates and with a gun. And,
Yeah, I read about that. Tell me
Yeah.
more about that particular
Well,
Jerry Lee.
I think he had been over at the Vapors Club, and everybody was bragging. That's a club on Brooks Road in Memphis, and that's where they did the Elvis impersonators later after Elvis died. Anyway. But this was before this. This was like in '74 maybe or something like that, and he drove over to, according to legend, he drove over to Elvis Presley Boulevard, went to the gate where Uncle Vester. He was always at the gatehouse because I used to go talk to him down there a lot, and he came up and he asked Uncle Vester, was Elvis at home? Well, Elvis was, but he said, well, you can't get in now when, we're not taking visitors. It's probably one of those times when he was asleep. So anyway, he backed his car up, supposedly, and hit those gates with Elvis, with Elvis playing the guitar, those notes, musical note gate. He hit that thing and he had a gun, and Elvis didn't press charges. The law came and
What did he do with the gun?
they probably just
Oh,
confiscated it.
he didn't pull the gun out.
No, it was in his car.
Okay.
But everybody said he's going up there to kill Elvis because, and his statement was, I could be wrong, but I remember it was in the paper, something to the point of, I am sick and tired of Elvis getting all the good publicity, and I'm only getting bad publicity. And it's not a bit. He says, I gave him the kingship when I married my cousin, or I would have been the king of rock and roll. And so it wouldn't have been Elvis. That's what Jerry Lee said. So anyway, that's all according to
Well, Jerry Lee has had more than 43 years now of undisputed time to take back the
Take
mantle
back the lead, right?
of being the king of rock and
I
roll.
know.
And to his credit, he's had success. He went on and had great success in the 1980s in country music with songs like what made Milwaukee famous and more. So
Yeah.
he's
He,
morphed and he's still out there going when he's able to. He had a light stroke in 2019, and as you could see in that video, he's hanging in there. He's not at maybe batting 1,000 right now, but he's still going strong.
yeah, he. I guess he took that accountant's advice and went to work and made some money and put something in that checkbook.
84 years young is
84.
how old
Yeah, and it
Jerry
had to
Lee.
be
He
getting
is
close.
roughly a year younger than Elvis.
Elvis born in 35.
Hmm.
Okay. So he's a year younger than Elvis. Yeah.
A year younger than
It
Elvis.
seems like they kind of all came along at the same time. Just Elvis just kind of got out in front a little bit because of his looks, if nothing else.
Sure. And I want to go back here. We're bringing up Jerry Lee Lewis today because of the death of Little Richard. What memories do you have of Little Richard in the 1950s, Jerry? Short.
Well, you think of Tutti Frutti and all those songs that he came out with, and
Do you remember when they were hot on the
oh
records,
gosh,
on the
yeah,
chart?
yeah, they were hot, and then they would be on Dick Clark, American Bandstand. That's where they would play him, and then you'd see he'd come out hollering, wish I could do like he would do, but he would come out, oh yeah, Tutti Frutti, and cut up. And obviously, you remember I've told the story. I got kicked out of the band
Mm-hmm.
for being tone deaf, so that's as good as I can do. But yeah, I remember. You remember Little Richard more than you remember James Brown and that crowd. Really, you do. I don't know why it is, but and of course everybody remembers Elvis. He was in movies and stuff. And then they would have back in those days, they would have movies at the theater. Would have all the entertainers. They might just have a song or two, but like he would be at the theater in a movie. Might be Rock Around the Clock with Bill Haley, and then they'd all come on and take their shot at whatever entertainment they had. So yeah,
Jerry, I have a question.
got it
You grew up in the 1950s in Mississippi,
right.
which has a reputation for not being the best place for black folks in
Right.
that time period.
Yeah, you're right.
You're a white boy growing up in the 1950s in a
Right.
place like Mississippi.
Right.
Was it okay to buy a Little Richard record? Was it
My-
okay to be a fan of Little Richard?
No one ever said a thing. Sometimes this stuff is just downplayed and played. It's a lot of fallacy in what people believe about the South, about Mississippi. I had a black boy save my life. I was down at the cotton field and went over to wash some axle grease off of my hand, fell off in the doggone creek bank at Takapola, and Jaybird, as we called him, he was a little bit older than all of us, could swim good, and he'd come in and save my life. And I had a nanny that worked on the farm too. We had a lot of tenant houses and sharecropper type situations, and they all worked there. And that nanny, I'll never forget, every time I'd go over when I was 15, 16, 17 years old, she said, I can remember bouncing you on my knee every time, and I took care of you. And, we had a maid that I'd go to her house, she'd make yeast rolls, and I'd pick up a whole doggone dozen of them and bring them home. And when I had hepatitis and was quarantined that time, she was the only one that would come to the house, and she would come and fix me whatever boiled chicken breast without skin or whatever, I could have, a broth or whatever. But it didn't bother her at all. And she was, I don't think, if we had an incident or two, they would blow them so much out of proportion.
You talking about in Mississippi or
In Mississippi,
or the entire South?
Well, Mississippi was a little bit tougher than the rest of the South, and I don't know why that was. It might have been because of numbers.
Mm-hmm.
It might have been because of anything. But the Emmett Till thing is really kind of what happened in Mississippi that caused Mississippi to get that reputation. And then they had the Ole Miss riot, which that brought in a lot of publicity in.
That was in '62.
That was in '62, and things were starting to change about that time, far as civil rights legislation and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, but looking back, and like I said, my daddy was a town marshal, and he took me when I was 5 years old with him to arrest some blacks that had stole some chickens. And my mama didn't want him to, and he put me in the pickup. And I'm standing up 5 years old, and he deputized a couple when he went through town, about 4 or 5 men. They went and caught him, and what they did is not right. Today it would be cruel, but at the time it worked, and the people he did it to, I'm sure, would rather had that than the other justice at Parchman Penitentiary, but for stealing. But he cut some sugar cane. He cut some river cane, and just give them a whipping on the bank of the creek, and then he told them, "Justice served, move on."
Really?
Yeah. So, I mean, but
Didn't
nobody got
didn't
mad.
Didn't arrest them or anything.
No.
Do you think they did it?
Oh yeah, they did it. They had to confess. I heard them confessing,
Okay.
and they knew who did it. The guy wasn't too far from his house. They had some chickens that they had to turn loose. They had them by the feet, and they was carrying them across the creek, and so they turned chickens loose, and he had them real quick, So it was one of those situations, I think, where obviously we got that name of Mississippi. If you could break Mississippi, you could break segregation, and that's what happened, and that's how it was played out. But no, John, you just didn't. I don't know if you've seen that movie. It was filmed in Greenwood about the maids and all, and how they treated them. You remember the movie? And
I do. It came out just a few years ago.
And
Emma Stone is in that movie.
Yeah, and that was how it was, but none of them had the uniforms unless you was going to a real exclusive neighborhood or something like that. And so that was kind of the way life was, and all the black people that I knew, none of them held any grudges or anything like that. It was all pretty up front because they worked for us. We were pretty straight with them, and it changed more in the '70s.
Did it?
I think that's when we kind of divided. It's like we weren't divided. We used to say a long time ago that, as a group, we had a problem with blacks and whites, but individually, we were best friends, and that's kind of how it really was.
Mm-hmm.
Because you'd trust them, they'd trust you. And I didn't, don't get into all this kind of civil rights movement stuff.
Right. Well, our original question asked,
I know.
in the heat of the 1950s, when things were just starting to really heat up from a civil rights standpoint, you as a roughly 10-year-old kid, if you had to come home with a Little Richard record, your daddy and your family would have been okay with that?
Oh, sure. I mean, we didn't think anything about anything like that because we all lived together and we worked together. And I'm sure during the Depression we were all on the same footing.
Okay.
And then you go on and, the only difference was that we owned the land. So we were able to develop the land where they were in the sharecropper's house. So we shared the crop and hence the name. But if you needed somebody to work for you, you knew which ones to get. Now, you would have some troublemakers, but you had some troublemakers in the Caucasian race also. And I can tell plenty of stories about those people. So
we'll
it's all about
that
even.
One of these days. Jerry, we got one more segment left with you. We'll switch over from talking about, Little Richard and Jerry Lee Lewis, the Killer. We'll have some other good stuff coming from our Takapola storyteller, and that conversation with Jerry is going to be coming up right after this. Stay where you are. Our website is y'all.com. It is the ultimate guide to the South. Make sure you go there right now and find out all kind of stuff about your region, the South, the area that we love oh so much. We've got all kind of fun stuff at Y'all. And right here on the Y'all Show and at y'all.com this week, we've got fantastic interviews headed your way. In fact, join us on Thursday as the Alabama Mountain Lakes will be featured big time here on the Y'all Show. We'll go to North Alabama and we'll have a visit all across that area that's on the north end of Alabama, stretching from the Mississippi line all the way to the Georgia line. And it's our spotlight of Alabama Mountain Lakes in North Alabama. And it'll be our virtual spring swing tour stop on Thursday, our third stop of this spring, and we're excited to bring that to you with plenty of good information. In fact, one of the places we'll be going to, our Takapola storyteller Jerry Short's on with us right now, a place that I'm sure you've stopped by at least once in your life, and I got to get your once or twice, is Unclaimed Baggage in Scottsboro, Alabama. Have you been there?
Been there.
Tell me what'd you think about Unclaimed Baggage?
Well, it's pretty good if you get the right aircraft that they got it off of. Some of it won't be so good, some of it will be beat up, but you can find some stuff there that's some luggage especially. It's leather luggage. It's just top of the line.
How does it get there?
It gets there when they hold it so long. The airlines, they hold it so long over a certain period of time, then they buy it and they sell it. And they sell it at a profit.
Is it stuff that was in the luggage?
No, it could be the whole deal. It's almost like opening up one of those storage shed bins that they pay to say, I'm going to open number 9 if you'll give me $50,000. But you go ahead. Now, they've gone through it, I'm sure. When this luggage,
you'd hate to buy at a discount a piece of luggage and turn out it's got cocaine loaded
now
up
it
in
might
it.
have something in the liner. You never know. Better cut that liner open and see if it's a $1,000 bill in there.
So you've had success at Unclaimed Baggage, Scottsboro, Alabama.
Yeah, I bought. As a matter of fact, I did. I bought back when I needed a belt. I bought a couple of leather belts, and bought some tennis shoes over there one time too. Yeah.
And those tennis shoes belonged to somebody else.
They belonged to somebody, but they were my size, and they were the kind that I wear. And
New Balance.
New Balance, obviously.
Recently here on the show.
Right. That's the only kind I wear. And so I said, and they looked like they'd never been worn. Somebody may have taken them on a vacation, and he may have wore his sandals on the beach or something. So I bought those, and then I bought some luggage. But yeah, that's a pretty good place. I'd recommend it for anybody if you was getting ready to take a big trip somewhere if the airlines ever open back up.
Well, speaking of that, it's a perfect segue, Jerry. We actually hopefully will have a good update within hours from you and the Short family.
Ooh.
As you're hoping to get some unclaimed baggage, so to speak. Your wife, after 2 months being stranded in the Philippines, she may actually be en route to the good old South right now. What's the latest with Sonia's journey back from the Philippines?
I don't know. Can you do like hee-haw and put like across your mouth censored where you said where you said baggage?
Yeah.
But she's really lucky.
She, by the way, back in March, her brother passed away. She flew to the Philippines for a funeral. They stretched funerals out over several weeks there. Mm-hmm. And just when this pandemic stuff was breaking, she went to the Philippines and should have got back almost 2 months ago. But her leader of the Philippines, Dirty Harry, shut everything down. So where do we stand now, Jerry?
Well, after Dirty Harry shut down in-country flights, you couldn't get to Manila. If you don't go to Manila, you can't. At Cebu, you can fly internationally a little bit. But Manila, to get flights, connections, anywhere in the country, you need to go to Manila. So they couldn't fly in country. They were locked down at their house. They had to have a pass to get out on the street, even only one pass per household. And then they had checkpoints all over town. So Sonia had worked for the government over there, and she had her own radio show, and it was called Good Morning Philippines. And so she did that, so she's pretty well connected. You know, she had a networking system going. And she stayed on the doggone internet the whole time. And they'd built a house for a mother, and then they'd added onto it and built it up. And so they had a good place to stay where they didn't have to have a hotel or anything that you'd have had that extra expense. But they didn't have any food or anything. Philippine government gave them nothing. And which, they had enough to cover it. But anyway, she finally had 3 flights canceled to Manila. that she thought they had. One, they call them sweeper flights, when another country will bring them in, and then you'll fly on those up to Manila.
Mm-hmm.
So Australia did that, and so did England. Well, she tried to get on both of those and couldn't get on them because she was not an Australian and she was not a British person. So American Embassy hadn't done anything to try to get any. Well, she talked a lot to a friend of hers. It was over tourism in that province down there. I think it's like 9 or 10 provinces in the Philippines. And it's a lot of people. It was 3,000 people that my wife was talking to that were stranded in a situation like hers. Most of them were paying hotel bills and stuff like that. She got word that she got a manifest that she was on a flight. And it just one day's notice. And you have to have all this paperwork and all this stuff. So she had to go all over that area of Elu City, getting all that stuff together to get through these checkpoints. And they need to get through safety. And, you got to show them because someone was actually shot at a checkpoint in Manila for getting a little bit out of hand.
Gosh.
And so she got to Manila, but to get there, you also had to have a hotel room reservation. So that went through the Philippine Tourism Commission, and it was of all places, it was at the Hilton, the highest price one probably in Manila, which was right there next to the airport. So she didn't get out that day. They had to spend the night. And she got out today at 12 o'clock going to South Korea.
Congratulations.
And so she lands at South Korea, our time. They're 13 hours difference. She lands, they're ahead of us, that much ahead of us. She lands over there at 5 o'clock today. And so hopefully she will...
within 24 hours, she'll be right here in the good old U.S.
She should be in Memphis, she says, by Monday.
Okay.
So that's not bad. That's today.
Yes.
So that all works really good. And she's really lucky because, like I said, there was only 42 people on that flight, that Philippine Airlines flight from Elu up to Manila. And that was 3,000 people that are still stuck in that province alone that can't get out of country. So
those people were American citizens?
They're American nationalists or something of that nature. It said I saw the printout that they have to show at the checkpoints, and they had to be checked, and then they had to be tested and all this. So, and then they had the same thing had to happen in Manila. So I was getting concerned that they wasn't going to let them out. The rest of the people too are getting a little bit concerned that are left that they're going to have another lockdown, and this one could be for another month. So we didn't think she was going to get out to the end of May, but sometimes it's who you know, and you know how that works. And
well, we're happy for you, and I know it's been a long 2 months for you, and you're not the only one that's had family that's been stuck overseas somewhere. As the president, I know, has talked about bringing these people back because in your wife's case, she is an American, not necessarily citizen, but she's as close as you can be. And without having the chance to take her citizenship oath, she would be a citizen right now.
That's all she likes.
So hopefully everybody who has extended relatives or loved ones somewhere, we hopefully will get those back here. The problem, Jerry, is after 2 months of being a lone wolf and living by yourself, your wife's coming back. Is she going to find a clean house?
Well, that was something that I am probably going to be up all night cleaning the house. And so if I've washed the dishes. I've done that much. But I tried to use them as paper plates as I could. But I wanted to throw in there a while ago, too, that on these flights, they've tripled the prices.
Have they?
Yeah. And, we say over here, in a disaster or an emergency, you can't raise the prices against the law. And but there on this flight, round trip to the Philippines and back was $1,200, and now it is like $2,500 one way. And then the hotel room you had to get, they jacked it up. Then the flight from Elu City up to Manila, they triple that price, what it normally is round trip, and it, just one way. So, the thing got really expensive, and it's eating some people up. I know one family that's trapped in Tokyo, and I don't know why they can't get out of Tokyo, but they've been in a hotel and been stuck there now for about a month, using hotel and restaurant. So whatever kind of restaurant they let you do there, they may be maybe they're like Tennessee. At least you can go in or get something to go for sure.
It's been a disaster all over the world for sure. And when your wife does get back, Jerry, we're going to say goodbye to you because you and your wife have to go into a forced 14-day quarantine.
I'm wondering about me on that. I just somebody's got it. I've bought groceries. I went grocery shopping. Yesterday, and carried my neighbor, a lady 94 years old, and so we took our time shopping. But I got the stuff she asked for, and she was she's wanting some good Southern cooking. I'm gonna tell you, and even though she's been eating lots of fish and rice over there, I'm sure, because they do that for breakfast. But we went shopping yesterday, and I've got the cabinets where they may pull loose from the walls. I've put so many cans of stuff in there, I've been kind of doing it for the last 3 or 4 weeks to get caught up, and it caught me off balance that she got out so quick day before yesterday. So I still loaded up some more stuff, and I loaded up some perishables too. So
well, don't forget about cleaning. You better get that bathroom spick and span.
I kind of did the tub yesterday, but and I kind of did the lavatory. So I've got to do some mopping.
Oh Lord!
And I got to do a little washing and drying. So, but one good thing about it, the house that I'm using now that I bought to fix and sell, it's got about 3,000 square feet in it, and I probably haven't used 200 square feet of it. So I think I can go with a dust rag over the rest of it and have it okay.
Well, we wish you the best, and congratulations in getting Mrs. Short back here in our region. That's our Takapola storyteller, Jerry Short. Jerry, we'll see you again next week. Thank you. Yeah, put that hat on.
Thank you, man.
We say goodbye to you, and we'll talk to you next week when you're quarantined.
Oh, mercy, it works.
All right.
We'll see you.
All right, Jerry Short, everybody, and that will wrap up our Y'all Show here for this Monday. We'll be right back here with another exciting episode of the Y'all Show tomorrow. Don't forget that you can find us on the web at y'all.com, the ultimate guide to the South. Until that time, thank you for listening and for being a part of the show that's all about the South.